Welcome, Star Warriors. Today we're going to lay down some truth. And I want to put a nail in the coffin of a certain issue that has popped up over the last couple days. Mainly because I have said some things such as The Last Jedi is a rehash or a copy of The Empire Strikes Back. And a lot of people don't seem to get that, or they didn't notice it in the theater. I've had people telling me that I should go watch The Empire Strikes Back again, or maybe watch The Last Jedi again, because I clearly missed something. I've had people tell me that they're different because the quality of one film is better than the other. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that most in my audience would agree that The Force Awakens was a rehash or a copy of A New Hope. And yet they would also probably agree, at least most, that A New Hope was a much higher quality movie, story, and pretty much everything else, except for maybe special effects and CGI magic. And I'm going to go point by point, explaining why The Empire Strikes Back was copied by The Last Jedi using this chart right here. And I wanted to just start this off by saying that if A New Hope and Return of the Jedi were the only two movies in the original I guess I can't call it a trilogy if they're the only two, but if they were the only two original movies with Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia in it that George Lucas made, then and Empire did not exist. We'll say that, okay? Then The Last Jedi would look totally different than what it does. It would be a totally different movie. It would not be the same movie. And before I get to this list, I just want to point out as well that what do you think the point of destroying the entire Republic fleet or leadership or whatever you want to call them, the people that were there in the Hosnian system, what do you think the point of that was? Well, if you're having a hard time coming to a conclusion on that question, we know that in the beginning of Star Wars, A&H, Episode 4, the Empire was in control of the galaxy. Being that they were in control of this vast galaxy, they had the resources to build a Death Star and to use that Death Star. When we come to The Force Awakens, the First Order does not, at least on a galactic scale, politically have the upper hand. But some kind of way that is pretty much unexplained in any of the movies, they had the resources to build a giant gun that dwarves the Death Star. Okay, and they used the Death Star on the entire Republic. The Republic fleet, the Republic leadership, all gone in one fell swoop before they even make an appearance. The reason that was done was to set things back, to give the Empire the upper hand, so that even though the Resistance was able to destroy the Starkiller base, the moment The Last Jedi begins, you get an opening crawl letting you know that the First Order is in control of the galaxy. Same as the Empire was the moment The Empire Strikes Back started. What that then allowed them to do was have a situation wherein the stronger force attacks the base of the weaker force. Okay, now your base, especially a military base, is supposed to be a defensible location. But just like in The Empire Strikes Back, the rebels, the Resistance in The Last Jedi, the rebels in The Empire Strikes Back were both unable to defend their defensible position, their so-called defensible position. Now, in the Empire, this is pretty much an original idea. You know, I can't say or think of a movie that George Lucas actually took that idea off of specifically. Although I'm sure there are plenty of places he could have gotten the idea from. But whatever the case, the rebel base on Hoth was indefensible against the Imperial assault, and the Resistance base on whatever that planet was in The Last Jedi was indefensible against a First Order assault. And that was all set up when the First Order destroyed the New Republic. So they started this off In The Force Awakens, in the first movie of this trilogy, they set up things to where The Empire Strikes Back could be copied by The Last Jedi. But now we're going to get to this chart that I have up on screen, the bullet points of the plot. And this is a plot to 2 movies at the moment. We'll start with the first. Antagonist fleet assaults on Rebel base. Now, I've done a lot to explain this already, so I won't really go back into this. Just know that the Rebel base, or the Resistance base, whatever you want to call it, is indefensible in both movies. So, of course, the Rebels, or the Resistance, and the Resistance, I should say, have to flee into space. So we go to the second bullet point. The rebels evacuate base during the enemy assault. I've kind of already gone over this part as well. But it goes without saying that for some dumb reason, the Resistance fleet that's being chased does not scatter through space and meet up at a certain place at a certain later time. So, of course, the antagonist fleet chases the rebels through space. Now, in The Empire Strikes Back, this scene is carried by the crew of the Millennium Falcon. Han, Leia, Chewie, C-3PO. And in The Last Jedi, this scene is carried by the entire rebel fleet. It is ridiculous that they did not split up when they knew they were being followed. You know, I just want to let that sink in for a second. Ridiculous that, what were there, 4 or 5 rebel resistance ships? I can't remember, but someone who has seen the movie and can remember how many resistance ships there were running, please put it down in the comments. Yeah, they stay together, even though they know that they're being tracked. That one of the ships is being tracked, or even the tracker could have been on one person. Who knows? Is being tracked through hyperspace. They stay together, which ultimately, of course, gets them all killed except for 20 people. You see the problem here now with them lazily trying to rehash the story that George Lucas made up in The Empire Strikes Back. It's not just the fact that it's a lazy thing to do, and that they copy this movie or copy The Empire Strikes Back. It's the fact that once you do that, that you are like so locked into following this other movie's plot, but you don't want it to seem like you're following this other movie's plot. You're gonna leave yourself open to plot holes. Okay, let's move on to the other bullet point. Hyperspace travel is neutralized. Everyone knows this. The Millennium Falcon couldn't go into hyperspace for the entirety of the time they were being chased by Star Destroyers, by TIE Fighters, by TIE Bombers. Couldn't go into hyperspace. Okay, now, I would never expect to see that in The Last Jedi. Now, we know that The Last Jedi could go into hyperspace. Resistance fleet could go into hyperspace, although if they tried, they would all be killed much sooner. So, for all intents and purposes, they couldn't go into hyperspace. That option was neutralized. Okay, so the protagonist gets Jedi training from an old hermit. Now, the difference between here and why this is a distinct copy of The Empire Strikes Back and not a copy, like Luke was not playing the Obi-Wan character at all. He was playing a version of the Yoda character. The only difference is he didn't want to train, or he didn't train her. Yoda trained Luke, but Luke did not train Rey. That's the only difference. The fact is that Rey had to go to Luke the same way Luke had to go to Yoda. Obi-Wan actually went to Luke. So that's the difference there. He went to Luke and he convinced Luke to come with him. And that's why Luke was not playing an Obi-Wan character in this movie. He was definitely playing a Yoda character, just one that absolutely refused to train this woman. And of course he was a hermit. There was no reason for that. Now here's one of my favorite parts. 2 allies seek aid from a new ally who then betrays them to the antagonist. Betrayal is a theme that, you know, reoccurs in all kinds of movies. And a betrayal in this movie would not be bad. What would have been great is if the betrayal was on the Rebel fleet somewhere. The way they did it was clear, obvious copy of Lando Calrissian's character. Finn and Rey seek out DJ, the way Han and Leia sought out Lando. No. DJ was put in a tough spot the same way Lando was put in a tough spot, and DJ made the same decision that Lando did. Gotta betray you, I'm sorry. It's no hard feelings, right? They got here right before you did. Okay, so protagonist loses lightsaber. I mean, me and my brother used to have a debate before we saw this film, and he was all saying that they'll never cut off, they'll never maim Rey, you know, they will never maim her. And I'm like, well, I can see it happening, you know, I could definitely see them maiming her. It's only a hand or a leg or something. They're not going to, like, scar her face or anything. But it seems like I was wrong. Instead of maiming her the way Vader maimed Luke, they just cut off, they just broke the lightsaber. So either way, like Luke, she lost the same lightsaber that he lost. You know, which is something I was not expecting to happen, because I'd seen it before, and, you know, it's just like, why bother? But then when you realize what they're trying to say by breaking that lightsaber, meaning they're breaking away from the Skywalker story, then that makes sense. But still, it goes without saying, it is definitely a one-to-one comparison to what happened in Empire. An antagonist invites the protagonist to join the dark side. Here's the thing, that scene in The Empire Strikes Back had such weight behind it. It was freaking the most powerful scene in the entire movie, of a movie that had a lot of powerful scenes. You know, that scene, no one would vote to take that scene out because it would ruin the film. In this scene, in this movie, The Last Jedi, if you feel that movie, if this scene in that movie carried any weight for you, and it would make the movie worse if they took it out, just let me know. You know, don't be afraid to put that in the comments. I'll probably debate you on that, but, you know, it's your opinion and you're welcome to it. I, in fact, would have thought the scene would have been stronger had Kylo Ren been out to kill her. Had there actually seemed like there was an actual threat in that scene, you know, because with Snoke, you know, bopping Rey on the head with a lightsaber, I just don't understand how the hell Kylo Ren just sat there with a straight face the whole time watching that. I see some sort of goofball thing like that happen, I'm going to be laughing. I don't care what I'm going through at the moment. What a dumb scene. And then it took the threat out of the entire scene, and then he's just going to open his hand to her, not kill her, you know, be out to kill her. What is she to you? Just someone who can challenge your power at some point down the line. Now that's a running theme through Star Wars. He's not related to her at all. The absolute only reason Vader offered that same choice to Luke was because they were related. And now Disney has just crapped all over that with this like thing where this stranger wants this random girl to join him. Anyway, if what I'm saying makes sense to you, let me know in the comments below. If what I'm saying doesn't make sense to you, then tell me why it doesn't make sense. And as always, if you are listening, you are the new rebel. 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 You are the new rebel.